Alrighty. Cool. All right. Hey, John Costello, Damien, I'm going to put you on the spot. What am I doing today? What are we doing today? I got ZBrush. My tablet's working. I've got a lot of projects I have started but never finished. And I don't know. Here's what we can do. Hey, Ashton. Let's do this. Let's go in here to Pav. Nope, not Pav Custom. Preferences. We're going to go down here to Cam View. Go ahead and turn that on. And, oh boy. There it is. I needed an object on my scene. And we can go through here and we can say, let's drop in a sphere. Go into X symmetry. Make Polymesh 3D. Hold down Control Shift to go in here to Clip Curve. And we can just start modeling ahead, and of course we can use this as reference because it's right there. You can go into preferences and you can let's go ahead and clip this back too, so right on the cranium there. Oops, looks like when I clipped I kind of clipped it a little bit off. There we go, something like this. Start out with your head, and then let's turn off L for lazy radius. Let's also go into our Dynamesh here underneath geometry for y'all. Underneath geometry, Dynamesh. And I don't know, here we got a head. A little nubbin for a nose, little eyes, or little, let's go to our Damien standard brush. We'll carve in a little bit of a mouth here. And of course we want to make sure we have draft to the face. We'll go and pull all this back and all this forward. Because when you go to the side, we want to make sure that we have some sort of a, like I said, draft to the face. And there you go. Got a little head here. Go in here to our brow clay buildup. Let's go in here to stroke modifiers. I'm going to crank up that roll distance a bit and then turn that Z intensity down quite a bit. And then maybe turn off lazy radius. So I can just use this as a kind of a more general buildup here. So here is our cheekbones and our masseter and our labial fold and our little node at the corner of the mouth there, and our philtrum and our bridge to our nose, and our temporal line here and our temporalis. And then down the side of the head, about halfway down, you're going to have, oops, let's crank up our Z intensity a little bit here. There we go, halfway down between the brow and the nose somewhere. Not my favorite thing to steal, but we can grab an ear. Scale this down. Let's turn on LSim so we can scale it on its own axis there. Tilt that back just a bit. And like I said, this ear is a little bit too cartoony for my taste. Even if I'm doing something cartoony, I usually go in here and just make some just very slight modifications to the helix here. There we go. And hold on. Just lost my chat. All right, restream chat just crashed. Was anybody saying anything important? Sorry about that. If you said anything since the start, please say it again. Because, like I said, it just crashed. And I hope everything's okay. I don't need to restart everything. I'm assuming y'all can hear me. Okay, cool. I'm doing good, Marion. Well, I could be doing better. I need y'all, and it's kind of disheartening to me. I'm actually embracing the term y'all after living, 25 years in Texas. I'm actually going to start using that term, but I need y'all to tell me what I'm going to be doing today. I don't have any real agenda. I have a whole list of things I could be doing, or I could be approaching new, or going back to old projects, or starting something new. I couldn't really think of anything in pop culture that was like, oh, let me model something from Ted Lasso. That didn't seem like something I was going to do. So I don't know, there's no real holidays. I guess Toronto just had a holiday, or the Canadians, I should say. Some sort of holiday. But let's see. Okay, sorry, John, if I missed that last one. Pirate boat. Okay. So back in the day, I used to work on a game called, let me pop these open here. YouTube playlists. Art Station. We can move this down. There we go. And then on my profile, way down here at the bottom, it was a very long time ago, we have Age of Booty characters. Do I have any pirate ships in here? No. We have a really old ZRemesh video series. Yeah, so I did some pirate ships. I'm trying to think if I could make a quick pirate boat that would be worth anything. We can also age this character. Here's the lip pullers here, and yeah, there we go. That's a kind of a head, and then of course we need to go in there and mush around the features and whatever we'd want. It's got kind of an underbite there. And of course we can fix that. We can just go in here to mask lasso, yoink, and we can just go, yoop. Unless you're looking for an underbite, which is fine, nothing wrong with that. We'll use our move ACU to kind of push this around. Something like this. Now, if we wanted to, we can actually turn this back into a skull. All we got to do is look for landmarks. So it's going to be basically, you know what, let's do this. Let's do a unify. There we go. ZRemesh. And then right here is where that nose is going to go. And we're going to go ahead and we can just clip this back. So that's where all that goes. And then through here, we've got the orbit here. Yoop. That little sunglasses shape, and it's going to have a nice sweep up here. This is actually going to go further out. This is going to go a bit in. Carve this out just a bit. And then right along here, so we've got the ear might be a little high, but here's that temporal line like I was saying, and then now we can fix that too. All we got to do is go in here to mask pin, mask, invert, just drop this down just a tad, and then this is going to make a transition right through here. And then here's my tooth cylinder, so we'll get rid of the lips here, peel back some of that skin, and there is a little mouth here. Obviously we're not going to have a node if we're doing that. And then here, go ahead and shave this down a little bit, just using a little bit of clay brush and alt, standard brush, carve this in. There's our jawbone. Let's go in here to smooth brush modifiers, crank weighted smooth mode up to 1, so I can smooth a little bit stronger. Got kind of a bulbous front here. Oh, and we forgot this little guy back here. And we'll use trim dynamic, trim this down. And now we have a skull with ears on it. And this is about where the teeth will end up, give or take. And go ahead and trim this down. You got a start of a skull you can work with. Let's see, zombie pirate like those out of Pirates of the Caribbean. Hey, we kind of did that. We kind of got that going. Masters of the Universe on Netflix. You know what? I did see an uptick in He-Man stuff going on. So we can actually do a twofer. Let's scroll with that. So Masters of the Universe, Netflix. I probably should watch that. I'm a child of the 80s. Revelation official teaser. I'm just gonna click through this real quick. Look at that. What? What? When did this happen? Makes me want to go to the store and buy action figure toys. That's so funny watching, I think it was the toys that made us or the cartoons that made us or something. It was like everything I grew up on was just a sales pitch. All the stuff I grew up and loved was just a pitch to get me into the store and buying toys. And of course, He-Man was no different. What a name. Let's see. Well, you know what we can do? Okay, let's do a twofer. Let's do Pirates of the Caribbean zombie, and we can transition this right into a, we all know and love him as Skeletor. So I've got my little reference up here. Easy, easy. We'll do a couple busts. So, and then the other one. Let me see if I can get a good image of, and again, I'm just Google image searching, nothing fancy. Let's see here, zombie. These are the ones that have all the crusties on them, right? Barnacle Bill. Zombie concept art. Nah, just give me the gross stuff. There we go. Javier Bardem. We got the octopus head guy. He's kind of cracked up. There we go. Joffrey, what was his name? I guess I can put this up here so we can all see what problems I'm having here. Barbosa. Let's start with that. It's actually harder to find stuff than I thought it would be. Oops. And again, you know what? Here's what I can do. Here's the costume, and that's totally fine. I'm just gonna look up zombie, or you know what? I got my favorites. I got my artist's favorites. So let me. One I always like to call out is Jordu Shell. He's got some zombie stuff, I think. Yeah. Okay. Here's what I can do. So I can put this little image strip here, so I can kind of use this as well as this. Okay, so we've got our head here. I'm going to clone this off, and we're going to keep just a clone sitting out there because we're going to use that later, or use this later for a, let me write this down. Nope, I have it right here. Masters of the Universe Skeletor. So we can go right back here, and that's just a skull. We might have to take some artistic license, but anyway, here's our zombie guy here. So he's gonna be a little bit, he's gonna have more meat than your average skull. So we're gonna go in here and we're gonna put some eyeballs in here, and we're gonna say split mass points, and we're gonna move this up, and the eyes are gonna kind of favor the top of the orbit here a bit, and maybe be scaled down just a little bit here. And around the eyeball is going to be eyelids, or tarsal plates. So we're going to go ahead and say duplicate this off. You're going to see me using a whole lot of more fancy terms than usual. Maybe, if I can remember them all. I'm taking a Scott Eaton portraiture class. And so that's probably why. So we're going to duplicate this off. And if you haven't taken any of his classes, I would highly suggest that he's a hoot. And we're going to take this bottom one here. By a hoot, I mean he's an incredible instructor, but also he's very funny. So we're going to go through here, and we have X symmetry turned on, and I'm going to hover over face. We're going to say Q mesh polygroup all, hold down shift. We're going to pull out, and we're going to create eyelids, aka your tarsal plates. And then here is where we're going to kind of use this to, you know, instead of doing a bunch of sculpting, we're just going to have a little bit more control over how these interact. Now, if I'm looking at the skull shape right about here, about 1 centimeter down, is where this tarsal plate, was it the lateral and medial canthus, are going to attach to the skull here, somewhere in there-ish. And then through here is where all your eyeball fat goes, here and here, and then you've got your brow. So, and this looks like a very masculine skull to me, so we'll just go with that. And we'll go ahead and get our standard brush here. And you know what, I probably could have, let's go in here to our preferences. I don't feel like this is out of the question. Okay, boom, yeah, look, we got a skull now. Skull reference, how cool is that? So, yeah, this is looking right. This is looking a little iffy here. This goes around. Good enough. Okay. And then this might be a little thick. Let's move this up. And again, we just have, it's just a Dynamesh. We're just kind of sketching in. This is literally just sketching in 3D. So we'll call this good enough. We'll call this good enough. So we got our upper and lower eyelid. If we want to, we can also go in here and we can start inflating. Again, we can put actual objects in here, or you can go through and just decide, you know, how you want to go through and sculpt. If you just want to Dynamesh all this together, leave the eyeball separate probably. Also make sure you get some nice eyelid thickness. That's always a good thing to have. There we go. And then if we want to leave this a little bit more skull-like, let's go ahead and raise the resolution just a tiny, tiny bit. We're not going to go crazy with resolution just yet. Again, we'll get that orbit nice and in there. And then our teeth. So now, another thing we could do, if we wanted to have like a really almost there skull really quickly, I mean, I do this almost every stream, but just in case, you know what, let's escape out of there. Let's do a quick save, and then we're gonna go out of edit mode, switch Control N, go in here to tool, and we're gonna grab the Kingsland Anatomy model, let that load up for a minute, and then we're gonna say delete other, because it's gonna select the skeleton. And then we're going to go through here. If we're doing a bust, we can go ahead and just grab all this, Control Shift A, and then, you know what, okay, that's fine. And we'll say delete hidden, Control Shift. We're going here to trim curve. We'll just trim those off. So mirror, mirror, and weld. Ooh, turn off LSIM, sorry. Mirror, mirror, and weld. Nope. Mirror and weld. LSIM turned off. And then, you know what, on this one, we'll just go ahead and hit unify, and then we'll go down to our head, and we'll say append. Append here. So now we can take the skeleton we just made and we can scale this up. We can check our work. I want to say this is a, I think this is a female, at least the way the muscles are on there, it's a female body. And I don't know, that's pretty close. But anyway, if you wanted to start with a skull and just build off that, you could. Just want to throw that out there. Oh boy, let me get caught up here. Creature box. Now, if I don't do these suggestions today, no big deal. I got another stream coming up on Thursday on my channel. Creature box monsters. What are these? Oh, nice. Those are cool looking. Okay, I'm gonna put this in my streaming bucket here. So we're gonna go here to streaming topics, and I'm gonna paste that creature box right underneath Mortal Kombat and Pyramid Head. I had those on there. Move Acu is not a new brush. It's basically the move brush with underneath curve. You have Acu curve turned on, so that'll allow you to kind of pull to points or just kind of pull things. I use it to kind of just pull smaller areas to points basically, but you can use it to square things off. So if you use Move Acu, and actually let me turn off Acu curve for move. So I have two separate brushes built for this. You can pull like to squares if you wanted to. Of course, we want to keep this like so. So All right, we got this going. And then if we want to put some, again, we have some meat going on him. So we can we can put some meat on top of him if we want. So we can basically just duplicate this entire mesh, and then we can go through here and using clay buildup or standard brush or whatever, we can start adding our own. Well, first maybe what you should do is go in here to inflate, for your deformation menu, inflate, and then deflate, so -1. And then underneath here, we can start building up on top of the skull where we might have some more juicy bits. So the lips here, right around here, and I didn't really detail in the teeth all that much, but we'll go ahead and just say, you know what, middle, the eyeball pupils straight down will be good enough for reference here. And then again, just like we had before, there's the node on the corner of the mouth here. We'll go ahead and put in some general mouth, some muscles in here. And then on top of the muscles, we'll dial in some fat. And you know, there's probably fat and skin, and there's depth all over the face here. But we'll just do a quickie. And then right through here is some, this malar fat. Right around here to the labial fold. And this will kind of squish around here. And then our masseter, I guess we just start with the bigger forms here. So the masseter is going to be here, the temporalis is going to be here, frontalis. And then, oops, clay buildup. And then right in here, you might have some, this roof fat, soof fat, depending on the, and then if he was jowly, right through here, you might have some jowls hanging. Something like that. You make your sound effects. And then we've got the ear cartilage and the nose cartilage. So we got kind of a buildup of a face over a very rudimentary skull, and that can be the start of a beautiful relationship. So we're going to hold down Alt with our standard brush, and we'll start dialing in some of this cartilage here. Like so. Go ahead and squeeze this in. And I could probably also start using some of my reference I pulled out. And again, so this is a very meaty zombie here. So this will actually look a little Frankenstein-y. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But then we also have our Barbosa reference here. So if we wanted to start dialing in a little of that, or some beard details, or some clothing details, we could do that as well. But first things first. So in here, we've got his nose kind of falling off a little bit. The wings of his nostrils here. Go in here with our Damien standard, start cutting this in. And again, I don't want to just start adding subdivision levels willy-nilly. That's not what I'm looking to do. His mouth is kind of like peeled back a little bit, so I don't have like a huge overhang and anything like this. Although if we start doing that, you know, I don't necessarily want to fatten him up. I'm assuming like as they zombify or mummify, their fat starts drying up a little bit. So it's not like he's going to be super juicy. And we'll go ahead and put some chin fat on him. And then, yeah, the labial fold that kind of tucks underneath the malar fat. And let's go ahead and say, do we want lazy radius turned on for this? Mayhap, but let's turn that down a little bit. So under your stroke menu is where your lazy radius is. We're going to use it, but we don't want that super strong. And then hold down Alt if we want to kind of pull out. I don't want to give him super thick, luscious lips or anything, but something a little bit more substantial, maybe. Just slightly. And then in here, this is gonna again mostly be kind of that I guess we could just do this. Let's go in here You could do this, ZBrush insert IMM primitives and grab a sphere. I'm going to use my custom menu, but we're going to split mask points, and we can just literally start populating, you know, the little globules of skin and fat that would end up in here. And if we want to drag out a copy, we can. We just control drag over, scale this one down. Again, let's turn on LSIM so we're not scaling towards world center. Start dialing this in. And again, this is going to go across here. I wonder if there's a real elegant way. I mean, we can go in here with ZModeler. We do have some geometry we can play with. Let's make this so you can see it a little bit better. So I'm going to do it quick. We have X symmetry turned on. ZRemesher, keep groups, smooth groups down to 0, half. Adaptive size also down to 0. All that, by the way, is under geometry ZRemesher. There you go. So that'll kind of even out our geometry a little bit more, and then we can maybe go through here. And again, we just want to make sure we pull. Let's do this. Let's go in here with our ZModeler brush. We're going to Alt drag over these. We're going to say QMesh polygroup all, and then we're going to Alt drag over these, and we're going to QMesh polygroup all. I'm just going to move. So I'm just going to give myself a little bit of geo that I can make sure I attach right through here, and then same thing on the bottom. So again, let's do it here so y'all can follow along. ZRemesher, depth size down to 0, keep groups, smooth groups down to 0. My groups are already smooth, don't need to worry about that. And then we can say half, just because we're looking for just very little geometry. And then through here, Alt Paint with our ZModeler brush, BZM, Q Mesh Polygroup up. And again, this isn't the most elegant solution necessarily, but I think it'll get us there. If you wanted to, you could also go in here and say, you know what, let's collapse an edge, you and you. And you might be asking, am I box modeling damn eyeballs? Use the sculpting tools. And I wouldn't have a super good answer for you other than shut up, I do what I want. So then also we can merge these down. So we got the lower and upper eyelids here. And I'm going to go in here with my move brush, and we're going to say auto masking, and we're going to go down here to topological. Let's change that range down to like 1.5. And if I move these apart, this is overkill for sure, but one other thing you can do is you can go in here and you can say delete a single poly here and here, and then you can bridge 2 holes, U and U. We can just loop this around. How about that? Ta-da! And again, we're just going to Dynamesh all this eventually anyway, so that's a lot of wasted work. But in case you wanted to do that. All right, so we got our upper eyelid, we got our lower eyelid, we got some fat in there. We're going to turn back on our startup material. Okay, and we'll get caught up. Okay, I'm always behind. And I need to move this over because my leg's about to collapse. Okay, let's see. Yes, yeah, He-Man was epic. I had the He-Man where you hit his chest and it would flip and it would be like 1 battle damage, 2 battle damage, 3 battle damage. And that's the only one I remember. I remember playing in the backyard of my grandma's house. I had the guy whose head would expand out, I think. His neck would get really long. What was another one I had? Whew, we're going way back. My brain doesn't go back that far. ZBrush 2022 in the next few months? I don't know. Who knows? You'll probably know before I do. I do not know why, but when I use my pen tablet, the mask by pen is soft. If I use the mouse, it's sharp. Would it be due to pressure sensitivity? Probably. Yeah, so if I hold down Control and mask, or if I go down here and use my, yeah, you can see, I mean, if you wanted to, you can hold down Control, go over here to tablet pressure, and then for your mask pin, you can go in here and change your size. And well, I guess probably your Z intensity is what you want to mess with. So you can Z intensity and just crank this all the way up to the left, and that'll get rid of that fall off for you. So you can actually use your tablet like a mouse. Or like John says, result by turning on lazy mouse and change the lazy step to 0.05. So hold down Control, go in here to stroke, lazy mouse, lazy step to 0.05. So that's going to make it so that it's you get a lot more as you're dragging your cursor around. That sounds like it'll work too. Thank you, John. Cool. Video options. I mean, hell, we can try it now. So hold down Control, go in here to lazy mouse, lazy step to 0.05, and then as you drag, oops, let's take our lazy radius down to 1. I said take our lazy radius down to 1. Why is it still behaving like that? That seems a little heavy for a lazy radius of 1. And generally I keep those off anyways. But anyway, yeah, if that helps. Cool. How do you move the slice after you already draw it? Yes. So basically, if I want to go through here and like slice this skull, hold down Control Shift, and you can use trim or slice. And then as you draw, when you drag this out, hold down Space Bar without letting go of your tablet. And then you can go through here and you can move this around, and then you can Alt double tap twice or single tap for the Bezier curve. And then you can go through here and slice this through. Speaking of that type of stuff, if you go to my YouTube channel here, go ahead and, oh, you know what? Am I going to miss a lot? Yeah, probably. You can go to my YouTube channel, or both places will kind of take you there. This ArtStation page might be a little easier to look at, but there you can see my playlists and my ArtStation page. And in here, if you go down to, well, here right at the very top, you have an intro to ZBrush. Well, if you have ArtStation, you have ArtStation Learning, and in here I have like a 16-hour intro to ZBrush course. I also have this intro to ZBrush course, not as in depth as this one, but there's an intro to ZBrush here. And then also, if you scroll down, you'll have intro to ZBrush, or ZBrush 4R8, what's new, ZBrush 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, what's new. And anytime you click on any of those, like for this one, what's new, ZBrush 2021, here's 96 videos on all the new functionality of ZBrush 2021, for example. If you want to watch those on YouTube, you can. But again, ArtStation might be easier to find things, but you can always click on the YouTube thing. And there you go. Here's all the new stuff in 2021, give or take. So those, and this is the playlist for it. So here's my liked playlist. We got some Van Halen in there. I started getting into 80s hair bands for my workouts. I don't know why. Out of nowhere. And then also in here. So you'll see all the same old stuff I've just talked about. Let me scooch this down a little bit. Okay, let me scroll back up. I'm doing good, Morpheus. And then as I scroll past that real quick, let me get back up here. Is there such a thing as dynamic panel loops? Dynamic in the sense that you can see them change on the fly? I don't think so. Not that I know of. You have to do it and then undo. Do it and then undo. Yeah, I mean, fat zombies can be cool too. Essentially, if you wanted to make this a fatter zombie, there's a couple, oh my goodness. Oh, I have caps lock on. So, you know what, let's do that. Does that look a little bit like, oh, was it Rudy Giuliani? So this is, I'm going to pull out some reference of him. We'll do a zombie Giuliani. But basically, so we have a head here, and we want to make it a little chubbier, or at least, you know, it's still a zombie, but we want to maybe have a deflated, heavier zombie. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this off, and then we're going to hide the other one. So let's go through here, and let's say, you know, let's use clay buildup here. So again, the Malar fat, we can go ahead and kind of make this a little bit more excessive. And then right around here is where you're going to get jowly, and that's going to be jowly above the jaw here. And then underneath here, you'll have another pocket that you can get jowly. And then down the middle, maybe not that far in, it's more here-ish. And then down the middle, you're gonna get another area where you can get jowly. Not, this isn't jowly, this is just, you know, right through here. And then also right along here, you'll get that Winston Churchill going. So right along here, you'll also start packing it in a little bit here. And that can kind of hang too. A little tube of fat right along there. So, trying to think. I mean, through here too, so you'll have, you know, as you start to zombify, and by zombify I mean just get older, you're gonna have, so this little orbit ridge right through here, you're gonna have a little pad that'll kind of start to seep, or kind of start to fall a little bit, so you have a little bit of a pad right here, as well as this fat in here. We can go ahead and just Dynamesh this. Oops, let's say 160. There we go. So we got our fat in here. Also fat above the eyeball if you wanted to. We kind of added a little bit baked into our orbit here. But that can just be, we can just have skin hanging down there. And where else? I think that's about right. Give or take. Something like that. And you know, we still have, you know, it's kind of getting sunken in here. You have some, as you start to zombify too, you know, you're not gonna have a ton of buckle fat in here giving you the chubby chipmunk. If you wanted to youth this up a little bit, you could, you know, you're basically just gonna kind of move this fat up. You're gonna fatten this up. You're gonna smooth the transitions out, and you're gonna maybe suck some of this back in, and then also get rid of these jowls. Next thing you know, a little more youthful in appearance, although the way we've sculpted this, maybe not so much. But anyway, that would be the heavier version of that face. Cool. Yes, Left 4 Dead. God, it's been a while. Let's see. Oh, we got ZBrush Summit 2021, October 23rd. January, February, September, October. That's not for a while. Exactly like my science teacher. Well, you know, I've known a few people that, you know, kind of looks like this. Listen to my older podcast interview on Spotify, the Game Artist Podcast. Really great insight to chat. Oh, excellent. I want to do more of that, or video documenting stuff behind the scenes, behind the legend that is Path Mike. Oh boy. If I gave you any behind the scenes, you would realize how unlegendary I am, which isn't a bad thing. I changed the title, didn't I? Oh, that's from yesterday. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can get into, I don't know how exciting video, I mean, I will say for video editing, I absolutely use Vegas Pro for speed. I tried using, what's the other one? Premiere, and it was the slowest, clunkiest thing. Premiere, when you look at the Premiere tutorials and you like walk through it, it's like, make a cut, transition. It's like if you're making cuts for like a really slow plotting documentary, that's what I would use Premiere Pro for. When I'm doing my type of cutting and going through and like, you know, cleaning up a presentation, or going through and doing like a sizzle video that's like 35 seconds long, holy crap, it's not great to use. So I use Vegas Pro, much faster. At least my workflow is. I couldn't get a good workflow in the other one. I'm going good, Morpheus. Sorry, I caught you down below and now I caught you up top. I saw some people unable to move topological brush with topological modifier in the move brush. Where's that? So underneath move, underneath auto masking, you're going to have topological. You also have BM move topological in here with that already set up. But that's where I usually just have this to turn it on and off as needed. And John's got it. But here it is on video. So if you need to see where that is, there it is. Yeah, we got a little Frankenstein Hannibal going. Small monitor, I wanted to make my sculpting area look bigger. Button size, smallest option, no way to make it look better. The menus don't fit in the canvas. Just like John says, UI you can reduce, also collapse windows left and right. Yeah, I keep most of this open just because I use a bunch of stuff in here, and I don't need a ton of canvas space to sculpt a zombie creature. However, underneath preferences, interface, UI, button size, you can drag this down. Don't make it crazy small, but you can drag this down. You have to restart ZBrush, and that'll make your overall buttons a little smaller, as well as somewhere in here, there's a Oh, wide buttons. So wide buttons is probably on by default. You can turn that off once you're comfortable in ZBrush. For example, under here, the brushes, see how these are all just little squares as opposed to kind of the wide, like double wide things where it gets you a little bit more information. I suppose if you don't need that, then that'll help maybe cut down some clutter. Cool. Pepper's good. She's old. She's getting to be a old lady. Kind of like me. I'm getting old too. Yeah. So we're sculpting ahead, going over some techniques. Ava says, "You're the best. I've learned to use ZModel a lot because of you now. Everyone accused me of using black magic." Well, thank you for the kind words, Ava. Glad we were able to help. I might have some more ZModeler stuff coming up at some point. I don't know. Cool. Do you use projection often? Like projecting through other. I mean, I use projection a lot when so what we may do is ZRemesh this final result. We'll use project history on that. I don't use a ton of like spotlight projection. Although if we wanted to paint this guy, sure, we could do that. Cool. Oh, I do have a Discord, but you know what? I can never have Discord open because during the day I need I live and die by my notifications, and when I have Discord open, it kills. If you guys know a solution to this, please shout it out. It kills all of my notifications. Like my computer will not make a sound when I have Discord open, and I've looked for every setting, and I cannot find where Discord is saying, "Hey, you're not going to get Slack notifications. You're not going to get Hangouts notifications. You're not going to get any notification other than Discord stuff," because that's why I have to keep Discord shut all day, is because I need to be notified about stuff or I miss meetings. So if there's a fix to that, let me know. I'm seeing the chat for Twitch and YouTube. At least those are the icons I'm getting. Cool. Do you use project a lot when you need higher detail? Yeah, you know what, we'll do that. We'll go through here. So let me get cracking here. I'm just making my way through the comments. But when we get cracking and we're like, okay, we're not going to be making any, BSH, any crazy changes to our mesh here. We'll ZRemesh this, project the details back, and then we'll start sculpting with subdivisions as opposed to alternatives. Cool. ZBrush have any AI functionality? Wait for that to happen. AI and machine learning. You won't need us anymore. That's what everybody always think is funny when everybody's like, "Oh, why can't ZRemesher get this perfectly?" I'm like, as soon as ZRemesher can get everything perfectly, careful what you wish for. You better be a good designer. Because we won't need game reses anymore, which, hey, I'm looking forward to. But how is the gizmo so cool? I don't know how it's so cool. I like the gizmo. A lot of comments on my YouTube channels beg to differ. They don't like the gizmo so much, but I like it. Do you ever use polypaint or always spot for texturing and substance, etc.? Opt for texturing and substance. Spotlight, if we're just kind of, we want a preview, I'll do a preview polypaint in here. And if I'm ever going to do just a quick and dirty, polypaint it, render it, do some cleanup in Photoshop and post it, polypainting is perfectly fine. In fact, we'll probably do that today. But yeah, if I'm going to do like a final, I'm probably going to do it in Mari or Substance Painter. Discord has a do not disturb mode. I live by it. Yeah, so I need to find that and turn it off, I think. Yeah, I have to be disturbed, unfortunately. Discord settings, notifications, disable, enable notifications. I thought I tried that, but I'm going to copy this. Thank you, ZGMG92. I'm going to keep that around because that's a pain in my butt. Oops. There we go. Okay, so back in here to Zombieland. So again, we've got all our different pieces in here. If we want to kind of start seeing the skull underneath a little bit more, we can. Let's go back to our skull here and we'll dial in these teeth a little bit better. So, and also let's raise the resolution up just a tiny bit. Again, we're just doing minor raises in here. Let's go to our Damien standard brush and we can start chopping in. So we've got front tooth, side tooth, canine tooth, and then here's a bunch of teeth we're probably not going to see. And then same thing for here. These are going to be a little smaller. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then yoink, like so. So basically, and then we'll go back in here and Now we could, you know, pop these things off, make them their own subtool, and I might do that depending on how fancy we want to get. Is that what we're using? Yes. Sorry, getting confused. But now I can just at least see, you know, where the lips are going to end up going. Again, these lips are kind of giving the illusion that they're kind of peeling back a little bit, kind of drying out. So we'll go ahead and keep that. Let's go ahead and raise the resolution up just a tiny bit more. And I think we can start. I think we can start dynameshing everything together. We'll do it slowly though. Well, no, we should probably just go in and go for it. Okay, so let's go in here with our Damien standard brush and we'll start cutting in some detail for the head here. And again, we can go in here to our clay buildup. We can just go across the section here. So if we go through and we start, you know, carving in our secondary forms, we can add a little bit of skin around here. You know, I've also got a mirror I could use. I could zombify myself a little bit. And then again, the orbit is right through here. So that's going to kind of contain all of the eye bags in there. And then they'll kind of seep past here to the, that angle of the zygomatic arch here. And then we can start poking holes in this, I think, where we want to kind of see the skull through. And it will make this a fairly asymmetrical face. Also, his eyes look a little bit spread apart, which, I don't know, it's not terrible here, but we can kind of maybe move his eyes in just a tiny bit. And these are going to attach to the outside as well. We didn't go as crazy over here, but we'll make sure those fit. Okay, if we want to smooth these out, we can go in here. We're going to do a crease PG because, again, we have a polygroup outside and a polygroup on the inside here. And we're going to say, so as we're dividing the subdividing this up, Control D a couple times, and we can go through here and we can inflate our little inside thing. Those will stay nice and smooth. This eyeball might be a little bit small. LSIM is turned on. Let's go to Unmesh, Mesh Center. Eyeballs are also going to be a little wider. Something like this. And we still have Move Topological on, so if these aren't anywhere near being vert welded, you can move one separate from the other, which is helpful. Sorry. And we'll go through here and we'll actually kind of maybe move some of this stuff in. And because, again, we got the skull kind of sitting underneath, this is our opportunity to go through here and be like, okay, let's turn off X symmetry. Let's go into our standard brush. And, you know, I guess wherever it started getting hit. And we could, you know, there is stuff underneath here. So this is going to be our skin layer. Like so. We could pop some of this in. But, again, stuff is going to be inside of here. So in that case, we could go back and add some cartilage in there, I suppose. Same thing for the ears. We can go through here and we can start chewing some of this up. You know, we'll wait till we dynamesh those together. And then, you know, we got this, you know, bony outcropping here. Let's go through and we could say, peel this back a little bit. And then maybe he's got his lip a little bit torn. We'll make one side of his face chewed up more than the other side. All right. Good enough, let's say, and then we're just going to merge these down. So we've got the skull here with the ears on it. So here's the underlying skull, and then here's the face. And you know what? I don't know. Do I want to merge these down? Not quite yet. But what I am going to merge down is the skin parts. We're going to go ahead and say, let's take our eyelid, hold down Shift, shoot bent arrow, shoot that to the bottom. Take our skin part, Shift, shoot that to the bottom. Put this right above the eyelid. So when I merge this down, I'll have Control E is my hotkey, Control drag. That'll go ahead and merge these down. Let's go ahead and raise the resolution up in our Dynamesh just a little bit more. There we go. And then now we can go through here and we can smooth out those things. And then also the little fat we added here separately. We didn't need to do that, but just for fun, we just need to merge these down and then re-Dynamesh. And by putting the head above where we're merging down, it's going to inherit those Dynamesh properties. So if you wanted to maintain that resolution, that's why you would do that. So again, we still have our tarsal play, we still have our fat underneath, everything's doing okay. Go in here with our clay buildup brush and go through here. And again, we'll have that just kind of all sitting inside there. And we can still, you know, kind of use symmetrical sculpting on parts of it. If we're careful, we do have this bony ridge still built up quite a bit. And again, our standard brush here. So we got our zombie going, we got our Damien standard brush. Kind of start digging through. Let's go ahead and change that lazy radius down to like 1. So again, we're just kind of sketching. And again, we have symmetry turned on. However, if we just need to go in here and start working, we could turn symmetry off and then we can start seeing like the skin thickness in here. And then if you wanted to start alluding to, you know, a piece of cartilage or something you want to have a different material, again, just go back to your insert mesh brush that we had. We'll go ahead and split this in and we can just kind of turn this into our, I forget the name, this thing here. Oh, you know what? Let's go in here to topological, turn that off, and we'll scooch this back. So it's going to kind of twist here. It's going to fold back in and make this shape. Actually, let me see. When in doubt, let's look at it. Yeah, this one. Alar cartilages. So right through here is going to kind of twist down around and then come back up. So twist down around, and then this is going to kind of be sitting right in here. So if the skin got peeled away and you can see the cartilage in there, something like that. And then of course you'd have another cartilage piece, but we'll go ahead and leave that alone. Then you have your nostrils like a little fibrous fatty thing, so you can leave that in there or not. So again, we'll turn X symmetry back on, and then we'll continue. Hold down Alt, and we'll make sure, as this is starting to get thin, we can turn on back face masking underneath your auto masking. And you can hold down Alt again, and we'll say Trim Dynamic. And then again, go back down to Damien Standard here. And then again, this will kind of fold underneath here. And then this will kind of go around and underneath too. And then right through here. And I have Smooth Stronger turned on. I'm going to crank that Z intensity down just a bit so it's not too crazy. And then we'll go back to, let me crank open my reference here. Oh boy, we got a bunch. Okay, so again, we have X symmetry turned on. We can also, while we're doing this, this is another reason why going through and ZRemeshing and getting your meshes nice and ZRemesh is when you start doing this type of thing. If you do this and then you control drag, obviously it's going to stick all this stuff together. So this is where you maybe want to go through and ZRemesh at some point. It's probably a little premature, although I tend to ZRemesh way late. So I don't know, your mileage may vary there. Let's go in here with our clay buildup, and we need to continue. It's not going to stop here at the orbit. And in fact, let's cheat this a little bit, push this back. So the skin's going to kind of go through here and then kind of creep across. Again, we'll leave this alone. And there, you know, you might even have, you know, a couple different zones where this is going to build up. Good enough. Good enough. And then, again, depending on how dried out this guy is, we can exaggerate, kind of like in my reference here, we can kind of exaggerate some of this going on. Really mummify these wrinkles here. Chin. little Boris Karloff look going. And again, the eye bags. And then do we need more detail on the head? I don't think so. We could go back in here if I want to kind of replace these teeth. Control Shift. This is just a hacky way to do it. Control Shift A. Let's go ahead and say split hidden. And we'll show these. And we can move these into place. Let's turn on transparency so we can see what we're doing. We'll pop those right in here. And then for this sculpt here, you can just knock back. There we go. Now for these teeth, if we look at them, they are decimated. So let me say we have X symmetry turned on. Let's do double depth size down to 0 ZRemesh, just to give them some slightly newer geometry. And we're going to go in here to inflate of 1 a couple times, and then we'll just hit D for dynamic. And you know what? We can go in here with our move acu topological turned on, and we can start, you know. We can even just go in here with our inflate brush real quick. Inflate these so they're a little closer together. And then we can even go in here with our trim dynamic and say, you know what, probably not as bubbly here, and then certainly not on the inside. Of course, I don't think we're going to see the inside too much. You know what, instead of dynamic, let's hit Control D so we have real geometry here. There we go. You can kind of trim those a little bit flatter. And then for these teeth, let's go back into Move Brush, turn topological off, and I'm going to have this fit a little bit, the curvature I have. Now, another thing you could do is, let's turn off X symmetry. Let's go into auto groups, so that's your polygroups, auto groups, and we can start knocking some of these back. So here, let's see, we'll take this one out, maybe this one and this one. Delete hidden. Oops. Let's go down here to delete lower, geometry modified topology, delete hidden, and reconstruct back. But we have some triangles in there. Not a huge deal. I think it got some weirdo geo through there. If I wanted to zero mesh, I could, but I think we're okay. And then for our lip here, let's go ahead and say, take our standard brush. And at this point, it's really just, I think we got our major forms in there. So just kind of going through and making sure all your stuff's blocked in. Primary forms, secondary forms. You got your nose. You got your kind of some heavy wrinkles. You can kind of see the skin direction. Again, check out your reference for whatever you're doing here. We'll have to put that, like that W in here. And again, I'm going to take this skull and we're going to knock this back just a little bit. We should have deflated it a little more. And this would be the start of our zombie skull. Now, like I was saying, you can ZRemesh this, and I guess we'll leave the skull separate. Let me see, skin part. Yeah, we got ears. So for the skull itself, I'm just alt tapping to select it. I'm going to go through here and I'm going to say Shift, turn Sculptors Pro on, and we're just going to delete this ear just by kind of squishing it back, and then clay build up, Alt. There we go. And that cranium goes way back there. That's probably not great, but we'll go ahead and leave that in there. So for the rest of this head here, we did talk about Sculptors Pro, so let's do that. Let's go back in here to BSH, because the move brush isn't going to work with Sculptors Pro. And then with Sculptors Pro turned on, you're going to see it's going to update on the fly. So it's a really easy way just to add some geometry. You could also just mask and move if you want, but this is fine too. You know, we'll kind of put, we just talked about it, so Go through here and add a little bit of a neck here, and then pull some shoulders out. A little bit of chest, or sometimes, you know what, I like to just get in here with some primitives. It's a little bit easier to manipulate. Say split mask points, move, scale. We've got a neck going back, and then a chest. Let's say X symmetry off, and then middle here. Got some deltoids. We'll dial in some pecs. This is kind of deltoid slash pec shape here. Again, just for speed. And then I'm going to go ahead and merge those two together. And we'll say X turned off, throw this in the middle, X turned back on. Something like this. I'll go back to the neck. Okay, let's turn Sculptors Pro off, and then through here, we've got our sternal-mastoid attaching to that little bump on the back of the skull here. And we'll go ahead and merge down the body. So head above the body, body merged onto head, so that maintains our Dynamesh resolution when we Dynamesh. And you know what? I think we'll be okay. So again, we got our clavicle here, and a little sternal notch here. So over here to the acromion process, over here to the spine of the scapula. It's going to cup some muscles back here, and then this is all going to be spine and trapezius and all that good stuff here. So it's kind of dialing in these shapes. And then our pecs here, and then again, we're just sketching. So this is all just like, here's some volumes, just like you're in your sketchbook and you've just done a sketch of like, here's the basic shapes of what we're looking for. So you can get that dialed in. And then on top of this, and this is getting a little heavier than I like. So you know what I'm going to do? Control Shift. I'm going to say I'm going to work on the head separately. So I'm going to say split hidden, Control Drag. We're going to drop this Dynamesh resolution way back down just to make it a little bit easier to work on. I can always Dynamesh them later back together and then ZRemesh that result. But again, just to make things a little easier to work on, don't be afraid or think that you have to like, oh, I have to work on this separately. So one head down, two heads down, somewhere in here. So this is where we're just, okay, here's our line. Here's our, again, our clavicle is going to be that Cupid's bow shape back. And then we're going to have, this is all going to tuck down here. And then this is going to go up underneath. And then this is on the top of the rib cage here. So here's our rib cage. Here's our serratus anterior through here. And then our obliques go down. And then our rectus abdominis. And then go back in here with our clay buildup. So again, we're just drawing on clay. Drawing in the round, basically. And if he's emaciated, you know, he's starting to mummify too, you might see some other cool stuff popping up underneath these muscular forms here. We'll go ahead and tie this back. And then on top of all this is going to be your delts all the way around through here. And let's go ahead and knock this back. Kill it, kill it. Oh, you know, it'd be a good reference. My little musculature dude. Okay. There we go. Now we're cooking with Crisco. Down to here and up and over. Oh, can you turn down the AC like one notch? Thanks. Okay, and we got coffee. Yay. Let me get caught up on my messages here. For some odd reason, I find it easy to sculpt realistic characters rather than stylized. You know, you can probably find, well, I guess you could find a good reference for both, but realistic is, I mean, hell, you can start for sure, you know, start realistic and then stylize those forms or those volumes. You know, there's nothing wrong with that for sure. We're missing some lats here. Let's go ahead and dial those in. And again, that serratus anterior is going to attach here all the way back underneath to the inside right here along the scapula there. And then the lats, yeah, the lats will cut across here, and then the traps all through here. Again, I don't want to do a whole bust thing, but that's basically how I would drop this down and then again go through and make sure everything's all right here. Let's drop this down just a little bit more. So again, once we've sketched, we can go through and we can start dialing in. Let's go ahead and exaggerate this a little bit. Nice big rib cage through here. You know, might also be good references on my YouTube channel. I guess it'd be under videos. Oh, you know what? Did I upload a bunch of videos? Yeah. Oh, there we go. This Dicom viewer. Perfect. There you go. I have a little video on how to get that set up. Cool. I am using the Intuos Pro for Pro Medium. Oh yeah. If you want to know, let's do this. Specifics for my channel. I think this is the latest one. So here is the current workstation I'm using. And then underneath here, if you do show more, it says all the specifics. So you can see all the hardware stuff. Are you going to retope it after? What's the best way to retope such a mixed object? That's a good point. So let's go ahead and say, you know what, let's say the body was done enough. So I'm going to say take the head, put it above the body, merge this down, Dynamesh at the head resolution, so now the head and the body are the same resolution. Go through here, fix any stuff that needs to be fixed through here. Let's go ahead and crank up my Z intensity there. And now I think, you know, we're ready to Dynamesh, or we're ready to ZRemesh this all together, because we're not going to make any major changes to this, let's say. The only concern I have is I like to keep things that are separate materials, separate objects. So like the teeth, I want to keep separate, the cartilage and the bone underneath. So in this instance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this right here, and I'm just going to ZRemesh this. So we're going to say X symmetry off, because unfortunately we don't have, boy, I really kind of dug that in, didn't I? We don't have symmetry for this object anymore, which is okay. It's not terrible, but just a little bit more work. Let's go ahead and it's going to come down here. This one's going to be a little sharper. Oh, see, this is where I get, you know what? This is also good too, because if you ever get to a situation where it's like, this mesh is getting really difficult to work with, subdivisions are really going to help. So, you know, you have all the detail and all the stuff you want to keep up here, but then your body is like, oh, it's kind of hard to work with this high resolution. ZRemesh can fix that too. So again, as long as we're not going to be doing anything crazy with our mesh, we can feel free to ZRemesh it. Again, X symmetry turned off. Again, unfortunately, I wish it was symmetrical, but it's no big deal. So we have this, and we could even, gosh, one thing we could do, if we're just going to be pushing the skin back into the skull, let's do this. Let's just do a quick mirror. Oops, LSIM off, mirror, mirror and weld. Because we can just do that. I like having a symmetrical low res. Sorry, everybody. You could do it asymmetrically, but you know what? I'm going to do it symmetrically. And then we'll just push this back through the skull where we don't want to see our skin. So when we're ready, we have, so now we're at 790,000 polygons. Not great for, still blocking in our secondary forms, right? So let's go down here. And if we want to control this a little bit more, we do have some opportunity in here to go through and add poly groups. In fact, this is going to probably cause a little bit of problems here. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab our clay brush, and I'm just going to start filling this in a little bit, control drag. Because our eyeballs are going to be in front, I don't need it to go like super deep back in there. And then if you're so inclined, I do have if this doesn't work out, I do have a better video on this. I think if you look up leprechaun. There we go. This live stream we went through and we dialed in like, hey, here's how you can do a bunch of different zones of the face in order to, kind of get more controlled results. I guess I'll copy this in the channel here. But we can go through here and we can say, let's control drag over here and let's turn off line so we can see a little bit better, and we'll switch to skin shader 4. So you can tell ZBrush where to put the lines in. So if you wanted to keep these, again, tarsal plates nice and crispy, you can. You just need to go through here. I'm going to hit Control W, and it's going to give me an aliased look, but we are going to hit the comma key, go in here to brush, smooth, here, and we're going to say smooth groups. Say OK. So now when we smooth, it's just going to smooth that polygroup border, and that way we can really control what ZRemesher sees. And that's probably fine. If I hold on Control, you can also, Mask by Polygroup is global, so you can just hit hold on, or just turn that up to 100. And then when you go through here and mask now, depending on where you start masking, it'll not leach into your other polygroup there. And ZRemeshing is going to be good too when we start doing deep skin folds. So we'll go ahead and say U, Control W, again Shift, smooth that group, like so. And ears can sometimes have a hard time too. So if you want to go through and grab like the front of the ear, you can also hold down Control and turn on backface masking under brush auto masking. If you're so inclined, I'm just going to go across here. And let's go ahead and mask through. Control Alt. It's getting a little bit close. Control, backface masking turned on. That way you can mask and not go through. Control Alt Tap if you want to sharpen this mask up a little bit. Again, Control W. You could do an edge loop mask border, but this I think will work just fine. You could also mask your polygroup borders underneath the masking menu and then do a deformation polish by features, but I think again we're in good shape. So we want to control that a little bit more. And then maybe, I don't know why I'm being so picky with this. I guess since I started, honestly, if you're just doing this just to kind of get some geometry, this is probably overkill. You don't need to do this step. You can just ZRemesher and just take what you get and then project your details back. This is just if you want to have a little bit more control over your geo, your resulting geo. Again, Control W, go through here and that'll be a strip I can follow. And then around the mouth might be a good idea. So right through here, and then right around here. Control W, maybe one more loop around the mouth here. Control W, nostrils will keep intact. Control W, bottom of the nose. Control W, and then, oops. And then smooth those polygroup borders. And the reason we're doing this is ZRemesher will see aliasing and go, oh, you want this to be jagged? No problemo. When in reality, I want it to be smooth geometry. So there we go. So now we can say ZRemesher, keep groups. We already got group smooth, so down to 0. Target polygon count of maybe 14. Depth of size down, let's say down to 0. Nice even quads. And we'll see what we get. Let's see here. Look, says, just modeling a zombie figure on my channel. If I watched you before, I might have been more involved. Thanks for the wonderful tips. Absolutely. Great minds think alike, man. Zombies all day long. So here we got a good ZRemesh going. If we want to continue to like ZRemesh half, we can hold down Alt and then start painting and then tap Shift just to kind of inherit these polygroups. You can even go in here and say, you know what, let's collapse this edge, get a nice smooth transition here. You know, you could do a little bit of cleanup. Oh, another thing we forgot, we can go back one here. So this is where all of our, let's just grab this, go back here. So this is where all of our detail is, right? Control tap that point in space and then go all the way back forward to where we were with ZRemeshing. And then I'm going to use Subtool Project History. So we can project history back, polypaint data, nah. And we'll get our details back. However, there is a little bit more cleanup we need to do through here. I think we're fine. So let's take this and let's say, again, half ZRemesher, keep groups. There we go. I think this is perfectly fine. So we're going to do, again, a project history, and then Control D to subdivide, or just go down here to geometry, divide, and then project history, and then divide, project history. I guess yes is fine. And then now we've got subdivision history with all our details back. If we don't have quite all the details we had, again, Control D one more time, and then project history. And just for cleanliness sake, I'm going to hold down Control and just untap that point in history. I don't need to store that in our memory. And now, when we're in here and we're like, oh, well, number one, our geometry is going to be a little bit more predictable while we're sculpting because we got nice even quads we're building on as opposed to a bunch of triangles. And another thing, we can drop down in subdivision history when I'm just blocking out my major forms. Now it's much easier to go through here and say, okay, let me drop this down so my brushes are a little bit more reactive. My smooth brush is more reactive, although I seem to be having a hard time here. There we go. So we can move around less geometry, which is a lot easier. I need to be able to spin. There we go. And then clay build up here. So, and then master here. Okay, so one other thing we were going to do is, again, start dialing in those skin wrinkles, and then this is going to allow us to do that as well. So we go back up to subdivision level 4, we go out of solo mode so we can see our skull poking through, and this is where we can go out of X symmetry, and again, we can just dial back in, you know, where we wanted our, you know, nose to kind of poke through a little bit, a little sinus cavity, and then, you know, along the lip. Oh, let's turn off mask by polygroups. Go through here and kind of chew this back. And the lips are going to be pretty thick. You got some skin, and then you got the lips kind of sitting on top of the teeth here. Although in here, I do need to, I should have put in a little bit more of a mouth bag. Certainly if I'm going to be making expressions or posing this out, there's a little limited eye in here. One thing I can try to do is go in here. Let's undo all the crap I just did. We can go through here. Let's do free subdivision levels. We're going to take this polygroup here. Let's isolate just the purple part. Mask, invert that mask, W, Control drag out, and that will give us an extra edge ring, and then we can actually Control drag back a little bit more, and then scale this down. X symmetry turned on. So now you can see we got a little bit more of a mouth bag going. In fact, I could even go Control Shift tap the purple, Control Shift X a couple times to expand, Control W to make that a polygroup, just because I want to keep my lips this polygroup here. And everybody cross your fingers for me because we're going to do unfree subdivision levels. There we go. So we can isolate this polygroup here. Let's just do a quick polish by features under your deformation menu, open circle, and now we've got a little bit more of a mouth bag. Project, what is that? Free subdivision levels works okay. If that ever didn't work, what you could do is just like we did before is, you know, store that point in history, drop your higher subdivision level, do any modeling changes you want to do, and then go back and then reproject history. But free subdivision levels actually worked a-okay in my book. So that way we have at least a bottom part to the lip now. Looks like a friendly little zombie. Cool. Sorry, getting cut up. Any recommendations for books on anatomy sculpting? So if you go to this here, I got a bunch for you. Let me see. Bookshelf. Let me see. Share. Get link. Copy link. Done. I'm going to paste you an image to this. So here, this isn't the most recent, but recent enough. There's I think the top 2 are anatomy books here, and then some miscellaneous books in here. So yeah, probably this top two sections here. Middle 2 sections. There's some ideas for you. Let's see here. History projector deals back in the symmetric mesh. Have a layer on too. Yes. Yeah, if you want to also, if you want to have a little bit more, even more control, you can go in here to morph target, store a morph target, and then also layers, add a layer. So while you're sculpting, you can dial back or enhance a layer and then go back to your morph target and put that back in. Mr. Pavlovich from Spain. Pleasure to have you here. Oops, I scrolled too far up. There we go. Milestone shed over the skin. we may go back to that. No, we are not back in office. We got a nice Delta variant going on here in the States. What's going on here? Unmask. Shift to smooth. Oh, I still have smooth groups turned on. Let's go from smooth groups just here to smooth, or plain Jane smooth, and that way we can dial this in, and then this is my skull sitting underneath. Let's dial this way back. So again, we can even isolate this here, and then I can sculpt through if I want to kind of go through in the top and the bottom and take this back even more. Cool. Any tips for a person that's going to just start using ZBrush? Yeah, I would say a good place to start is this playlist right here. This intro to ZBrush, 51 videos. That'll get you up and running on all the basics, at least. Sorry, I'm jumping all over. If I miss something, I will. You can explain the difference between smooth and alt smooth. Yes, so basically, it's kind of the difference between if you go down here to deformation, polish by features, you see how there's a closed circle, and you can drag this, and it'll smooth, but it'll maintain your volumes. And then if you go in here, open circle, it just obliterates your volumes. So basically, if you hold down Shift and start smoothing and let go of Shift, it'll kind of push the geometry around the pre-existing form. If you go in here with Shift and just hold down Shift, it'll just smooth the hell out of your object. It's just averaging vertices. So I guess that's the best way I can explain it. Or like John says, John's got it. That's also a new addition here too. So if you hold down BS, there's a smooth alt that you can make your primary if you like the other version better. Again, sorry if I missed stuff. I'm kind of scrolling fast. Is there a way to store different masks on a geometry with layers? Yes, you can use layers for masks. Although if you're talking about, well, yeah, you should be able to stack masks. Cool. Using poly paint with different colors, paint areas you like, and then put them on layers. Then use mask by poly paint. Yeah, you can do that as well. So underneath masking, you can select by poly paint. So mask by color and then mask by poly paint. You can open that up and you can drag. I don't have any colors on here, but if I did, you could drag from those little swatches on your thing and just mask those out. Hey, John Yu. Cool. And John Yu's got a game coming out. Let me see here. It would be guess I can just do it. Yeah. There we go. Uziak Games. Hope I'm not butchering your last name. Keep an eyeball out for that. Good, excellent. Glad the videos are helping. Yeah, get your vaccinations. Yeah, you know what? I save a lot on razors. I for sure do. So we have X-Imager turned on. Yeah, basically I'll shave here when my neck starts getting too hairy, and then I'll let this go for a couple months, and then I'll kind of buzz it all back and then start over again. I'll let my hair go. I get my hair cut maybe once a quarter, and my wife cuts my hair now. Through the pandemic, we didn't go to the hair cutting places, and now she just, I mean, I don't have a fancy head of hair by any stretch, and she does a fine job as far as I'm concerned. So this is the other thing too we were talking about. If you wanted to start, if you were dynameshing this stuff and you were going through here and be like, I want this eye bag to really overlap my pre-existing geometry, you can now that you have it ZRemesh, you can literally go in here and just pull these across, get those really nice deep wrinkles and crevices and bags, and you're not dynameshing anymore. So now you can actually get that, and then as you subdivide, you can go through here, and again we can start getting into some more. Let's go into our Damien standard brush. So again, we're going to leave this tarsal plate alone-ish, and then we'll go ahead and just we'll cut this in. Excuse me. So we'll keep these nice and crispy, and then down below is where all of our bags of fat are. So go through here, and we'll start just kind of crisscrossing across here. So, and these can be primary and secondary forms too. So if we go through and we kind of cut in some serious baggage and then go back in with our clay buildup brush, we're not really to the poor level of detail, but boy, we're getting there. Now you can start going through here and really kind of adding, you're basically just adding contrast. And we're on subdivision level 5. Oof, 2.63 million. So if we wanted to also, we could ZRemesh this back, and we could paint in, like, I want more polygons in the face and less polygons in the body. You have that level of granularity when you ZRemesh as well. But heck, we didn't do that. We could still do it, but I don't want to do another round of ZRemeshing if I can help it. So here, we'll kind of cut this through, and this will kind of curve up in here. And again, we're just going back and forth with a clay brush, clay buildup brush. And this is where things start really slowing down, so I may jump in and just do a quick Skeletor, if y'all are down for it. As opposed to, I mean, we'll keep the zombie around. We can go through and we can add clothes to him and stuff. But Skeletor might be a little bit easier. Let's go back in here with Damien standard brush. We'll carve in. Another good one too, BD Dam Standard 02. I think you can download that from, I don't know if it's a default brush, but that's also good for kind of cutting in, but also kind of bubbling up. It's got a little bit more of a creature look, which I think probably works well for what we're doing here. And then through here, again, we got we do have symmetry turned on, which for this type of stuff, probably not the best idea. You're not going to get symmetrical wrinkles across here. If I was really good, I'd be going through and getting some decent reference. Or hell, even my own face. If I put on a real snarl, I can get some of these wrinkles going. So I can use my own ugly mug to help out with some of this too. But And then we can drop back down, maybe set it in level 3, go back into our clay buildup. And this is where we were talking about kind of getting this skin to sag. Let's go in here to our depth and turn on gravity strength too. Maybe just a little bit. So as we're using clay buildup, it'll start pulling the skin down. And then we'll also, for maybe some secondary forms, we'll use, let's turn on X symmetry. We can also use dynamics. So that'll be fun, I think. So going through here, and again, if we can, let's go to level 4 here. We can take this here, Control Tap to invert that, Control Alt to clear up, clean that up a little bit, and we can just kind of pull this down. And then same for anywhere. In fact, we can go in here to BCK cloth hook brush. We're at 591,000 polygons, which is way too much to run our dynamics on. However, we can do it in individual places here. So if we want to go through and say, you know what, I'm going to dial in just a little bit. Let's go back down to level 3. Let's sag some skin here. So here's where we're going to start sagging a little bit. Got the little hyoid bone in there. And then here we're going to start sagging a little bit. And then if this was a, you know, maybe a heavier zombie that started mummifying, we could sag the skin a little back here too. Kind of obscure some of that through here. And also, if it's older, this is going to start drooping. All this little fat in your earlobe start drooping. There we go. So now, I got this. Yeah, I'll go ahead and is that? Yeah, it's, oh no, it's not. All right. So back to our dynamics menu here. So again, we can go in here to like BCK cloth hook brush. Let's go, depending on how much resolution you have is going to be how fine the wrinkles are, and you can also balance that against the firmness up here. So firmness of 2 is not going to be very firm at all. However, like I said, you know, here's active points. It's less than 250, so you can go in here and you can go through and start like cloth simulating the face, no problem. If you want to kind of control it a little bit so it's not just going nuts, you can go down here to thick skin and you can turn this on, and now you can kind of pull and it'll stop you. So it's almost like you're pulling cloth along an underlying bony form, which is perfect for skin wrinkles. Let's take that thickness down just a bit to maybe 11. So here, again, just an easy way for you to kind of go through here and just kind of, as you're pulling down, it'll start deforming like cloth, which in our case, I think works okay. You can either, as you're pulling, you can turn on like expand, maybe just a small amount. So as you're kind of wiggling this around, the cloth simulation as it's running will start expanding and adding more skin. So we can go through here again as we're pulling this down or we're simulating, it'll just keep expanding a little bit. It'll keep pushing those verts away from each other. So that might come in handy a little bit too. Also, any brush that you have, you can use this with. So if you go into your pinch brush here and you say brush, elasticity, and then simulation iterations, you can use, again, we're using the pinch brush now with simulation iterations, and it's inheriting this. Now, like I was saying before, if you want finer wrinkles, you can go down like firmness of 1, and that'll give you finer wrinkles. You can also make it more leathery, like firmness of 4 will keep things pretty solid. However, firmness of 2 with more resolution, so if we go up here to Subdivision level 4, first of all, it's going to put us over the active point count. So it's capped at 250, and I wouldn't even bother moving that up. So this is just not going to do anything but pinch at this point. However, you can go through here, and you can say, I just want to work on this eyeball. Let's switch here to a mask lasso here. And then now we're down to 52,000, and now we can use the cloth pinch. And you're going to see we're getting even more fine wrinkles But you know, if you want to crank the firmness up, you have more geometry, so your wrinkles are going to be finer. However, you can balance that with the firmness setting over here. We can also turn off gravity. I don't know that that's going to help us a tremendous amount in this case. So we'll keep this at firmness of 2 and go through here. And again, since we've already kind of dialed in the direction of a lot of this stuff, that's what I usually like to do before going through and using the pinch brush. You know, let's drop down to level 3. Because it'll kind of look at your skin that you have, or the folds that you do have, and it'll go through and just kind of riff on what you already got there. So if you can dial in, you know, kind of what's going on, you can use this to just enhance what you've already got. You know, so you can see how this line goes across here. It's just going to enhance what's already there. So if you don't want that, you can go through here and say, you know what, standard brush, go this way. And then when you use your pinch brush, it'll look at that geometry and kind of follow that direction. Maybe not as much as I thought, but. Anyway, so that's a way you can go through here and stay under your limit while also still being able to use, you know, your cloth brush, cloth hook and pinch, move you can turn in. And again, it's just going to enhance the wrinkles that you already have kind of there. And this is giving you that papery thin kind of old person skin, which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's kind of what we're going for. So in this instance, not too shabby. Cool. Another one from Spain. They're all over the place. Micropoly's Appreciation Fund page. Yeah, I need all the help I can get. Cool, cool. Awesome, I can't wait, man. Always miss Thursdays. Yeah, that's speaking of, I'm gonna have we'll keep live streaming on Thursday on my channel. Maybe we'll pick this up. You ever go to Round Rock Donuts? God, it's been a while. They have good kolaches. Also, if you head up north, so I was from Georgetown, so I'm in South Austin now, but you know, lived in Round Rock for a while. Then up north is Georgetown. Then north of them is, oh, it's called Check Stop, and they also have some. It's a bit out there, but if you're ever heading towards Dallas, you can go through there and check them out. Check out Check Stop. And of course, you don't have to use dynamics. You can literally just go in here and sculpt. It's just a way to kind of maybe enhance your workflow a bit. There's nothing wrong with kind of going through here. Again, it seems like my performance or something. Or maybe, you know what it is? It's not my performance. It's just me. I'm not used to sculpting. I don't do a bunch of asset creation anymore. So this is like kind of relearning how to sculpt. Again. So we're going to have here, it's a little bit of cartilage work, and this is going to kind of bump out on the top right along here, and then this is going to helix around here, and then we'll put in a little divot right in there, and then we can kind of pull this out. Ears are pretty unique to the person, but generally speaking, this is what we're looking for here. So that'll pull around here. Yeah, good enough. And this will swoop around in here and meet up. Okay, we'll just take our clay buildup and kind of go in against the form here. Something like that. And then our auditory meatus buried in there. Something like that. Can you debunk as to why people do not rely on ZBrush for their angle of view and go to other software with likeness sculpting? I don't know. I know a lot of people who do likeness sculpting in ZBrush. That I'm not sure. From what I've seen, at least the videos I've watched, they seem to be doing likenesses just fine in ZBrush, but I'm really not sure. I mean, then this is, I mean, I don't know, depending on how weird the camera is, I suppose. Let's drop this subdivision down to 3. I got a super square head here, and I'm also going to hold down Shift and turn off Polypaint. I don't need any of that stuff on. And I honestly wish I could use... Oh, I still have thick skin turned on. Turn thick skin off. Now you can use the move brush with elasticity turned on, and then turn on thick skin, and just literally just use the move brush to do what you need to do. If you like the feel of the move brush a little bit better. I know the cloth hook brush can be a little bit much. All right, there we go, and we'll go back, and we'll go back to level 4 here. Or would you, have you explored using Houdini to procedurally assemble ZBrush sculpts for environment props, or would you use a ZRemesh? If you want to do modular environment creation, yeah, I would definitely. I mean, you could do your props in ZBrush, or you could set them up in ZBrush, but yeah, Houdini's. I might use Houdini for that. I mean, I wouldn't. I would tell everyone else on the environment team, hey, you should use Houdini for this, and then let's sit back and watch them do it and be like, great job, everybody. Glad I could help. Is how I like to play that game. They do all the hard work. I take all the credit. Just kidding. They do all the hard work. They get all the credit. But yeah, I would say Houdini's not a bad choice for that. Let's go through. I'm going to hold down Alt, and we're going to pull out some wrinkles along here. And then maybe use our inflate brush too. And this is where you can go back in with your cloth hook brush and dial these in a little harder. Very sparingly. You could even use your inflate brush with cloth turned on. Cool. ZBrush is pretty easy to use. I like using it because it's a little bit fast for me. Cool. So you render in Blender. Nah. Then I'd have to export. Cool. Oh, nice. Yeah, I need to figure out what's going on where I'm gonna be at. Am I gonna stay in Austin? Is that what I'm gonna do? I don't know. Austin seems like a pretty good place right now, so I guess I'll stick around. Also, if you want to do a little bit of little hints, let's turn our Z intensity down quite a bit. You can start laying some veins along the head here. I think having the skull underneath has been more trouble than it's probably worth at this point. But because really, if I'm not going to see that much of the skull, probably not worth it. However, this is where I'm going to go through and be like, okay, you know what? Let's see some more of that skull. So the intensity back up, and we'll go through and we'll kind of cut back up some of this stuff. So, and we did end up going a little bit older, which is fine. But you don't have to geriatric up your zombies. There you go. Got some rock going on the side, maybe. Oops. And again, we can chew this ear up. Now, this might be another area where maybe going in and freezing your subdivision levels. I think this will work fine. You can chew this pretty hard. There we go. And then we'll go in and firm up some of these border edges here. I'm trying to think there's a good way. You could maybe mask and clay polish, although clay polish might want to do its own masking, so that might not be super beneficial. But yeah, at this point, like I said, it starts to slow down. You just go through here and you just put on your Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and you go through and you start just detailing this thing out, finishing it up. How big does an eyeball need to be when sculpting? I tend to find getting the right size of the eyeball. You can get very technical with it. I can just eyeball it. Go in here to transparency mode. Let's go to unmatched mesh center. And like I said before, the eyeball is going to kind of, favor the top a bit. And we'll go in here to local symmetry. And again, you can look up like 24 millimeter eyeballs. You know, they tend to be fairly standard. But basically what you're looking for is, I mean, if you're looking for just general proportions and you're not dealing with a skull, then basically you're going to be like, what is it, 5 eyeballs wide for your head and then 1 eyeball in between the skull. And that'll kind of set you right. So if you're just kind of generally sculpting here, let's go ahead and duplicate this off here. So it's like, okay, we got our orbit in here. We're just going to start adding eyeballs. So we'll go through here and we'll just kind of block in the shape. The other thing too is on the skull, it's going to attach on the inside here and then on the outside here of the orbit for at least the meaty part of the eyes. So that's, they need to be at least big enough to do that. And then through here you'll have, oh goodness, you know, 1 eyeball width, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out to the temple is about the general rule. So that's generally how big eyeballs are. Of course, if you're going for a specific style, that could change, but generally speaking, and also make sure, you know, you're getting, this is why going in there and putting in an actual round thing in your skull is helpful. Maybe if you're sculpting, it'll keep you honest, so you don't have to, you can actually work around a solid object. But generally speaking, that's basically what you're looking for. For the skull itself, you know, same kind of deal. It needs to attach here about 1 centimeter down from that little bend, the little suture line, and then here you can see this, well, the skull's a little bit too decimated, but here this is going to wrap down and this is going to wrap up and they're going to overlap in here, and then the medial canthus is going to attach right in that little duct area. So I don't know, about yay big. Again, you just eyeball it. Get some good reference. There was a post on Reddit that had a MRI of somebody's eyeball moving yesterday, I think. You can kind of see the depth in the skull there. So this wouldn't, you know what, this isn't even our first old decrepit dude. We did our Westworld guy that actually looked very similar to this. Oops. All right, you convinced me. I'll go to England. The camera's what I meant, but yeah, so the new camera import works awesome. Yeah, that should help. So basically, by default, I don't have it open over here, but under the draw menu, you have the new universal camera, and this is the focal length in here, so you can use those. And when you export it as like an FBX, it will export these cameras. I think you can export multiple cameras too. You can store cameras in here, so I think, I could be wrong though. Yeah, ZBrush Summit's coming up. Yep, I'm at that age, you know, no kids, but it's time to start punning it up, I suppose. Let's knock this neck back a bit. Jeesh, that's a bit much. Cool. I can speak about the keystrokes, not distracted. Something I wanted you to know. I have a loud keyboard, I suppose. I could try and fiddle with some settings, but I also tend to tap a little hard too. And I also tend to tap a lot. Even when I'm going through here, I'll tap like Alt S or tap S to change my draw size for no reason other than I'm thinking, which is not a great habit. Cool, thank you. So, okay, we got our zombie guy here, and while we got 10 minutes left, so here's how I would go about the 10-minute version of Skeletor. So let's go through and let's take our skull bust here, and we don't need eyeballs for Skeletor. He's got big empty sockets. And right on top of here, let's say, how am I going to do this? Let's do this real quick. I'm going to append a sphere, go into transparency mode, and we're going to scale this down. Or maybe I should save this for next stream. Turn on X symmetry, and we're going to just kind of dial in the cloak, and I want to say it kind of goes to like a little flippy doodah back here, and then back down around. And yes, absolutely, we can use dynamics for this. So let's go out of transparency mode. I'm going to, once again, you know, it might be okay, is hold down Control Shift, go in here to slice curve, and we're just going to tell ZRemesher where we want to slice this asset. And I'm guessing this is just where we need. So we're going to say delete hidden. I have X symmetry turned on. We'll say ZRemesher half upsize down to 0. Error. Do not give me errors. Let's go down here to Geometry Mesh Integrity Fix Mesh. Also, I'm going to check my ZRemesher settings. Make sure I don't have anything like freeze borders on. Sometimes that'll give me problems. Tab size down to 0, half. Let's do a weld. Weld points. Where is that at? There it is. Weld distance up a little bit. Weld points. ZRemesher. You bastard. Delete hidden. Let's do this. Okay, yeah. It's so, I guess when I sliced, it kept a lot of crap. So we're going to say weld distance way up. I'm going to weld those points. There we go. So now ZRemesher half. Okay, so we've got a sort of cloak happening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. Let's go in here to dynamic subdivisions. Turn this on. Smooth subdiv to 1. Thickness up a little bit. Offset in a little bit. So now we have kind of a cloak happening. Let's crank that thickness way up. And we're going to go in here to simulation. Let's turn off expand. We'll turn on gravity. Let's go ahead and say collision volume inflate way down. So it'll kind of collide with our skull here, and we're going to run the simulation. Oh, run the simulation at a very low gravity strength. Maybe not that low. Sorry, turn on collision volume. And oh, we had a little piece that was sitting out there. That was probably why. Delete hidden. Okay. So let me see if I can get a better shot. I'm actually in a video. There we go. So, oh, you know what? No big deal. Seems like his cloak kind of does this number. This might be something we have to dial in after the fact, but and again, using move AcU to kind of pull these corners in and around, and we'll kind of bundle this up. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I'm going to do Shift-E to turn off that. I'm going to say ZRemesher same. Maybe double. Maybe not. Hold on just a second. I'm having ZRemesher woes this morning. Let's help it out. So I'm going to do a quick polish by features close circle just to kind of smooth that geo out. I am going to go in here and say extrude polygroup all. Give this a little bit of thickness. We'll do display properties flip at the very bottom of your tool menu. And now if I do keep groups, oops, smooth groups down to 0, double. There we go. Delete hidden. So now I got a little bit closer to what I'm looking for here. And again, what we're gonna do is we want to mask right, let's say mask lasso here, mask right down the bottom here. Maybe Control Tap to blur that mask. And now we can have this kind of billow over. And you know what, let's go ahead, I'm gonna turn this collision volume back up to 1, just so we get a nice padding around his head, because it doesn't look like it's sitting that fully on his head. Also crank this firmness up. So when we run the simulation here, you know, I don't want it to pull back from his face. That's about where I want it. So let's switch back to mask pen. I was gonna kind of mask the points I don't want to move too much. So when I run the simulation, you know, this will start to bag. And in fact, let's expand a little bit too. Ooh, maybe not that much. There we go. So now I can hit D for dynamic to turn this back on. So this is giving us a smooth preview. That's not real geometry just yet. However, if we did want it to look, or we did want it to have real geometry, we can Control Drag to unmask, Control D to subdivide. Now when you turn dynamic off, we have more geometry to play with. So again, if I don't want these to move, we can say, you know what, let's do this. This is actually supposed to be up by his cheekbone here. Let's turn dynamic back on, thickness up, okay. So I'm gonna move this up because he's gonna have big muscles here. So that's basically where the hood's gonna go. And then also I can say, you know what, I want to basically stay put. And then I'm just gonna simulate around this. So now we can run the simulation and it'll, now that we have more geometry, you're gonna get more wrinkles happening. Also, it is gonna still collide with the skull. If you don't want that, you can turn off collision volume. However, it's gonna start sinking through the skull if you're not careful. So you know what, we can kind of say, you know what, that's fine. Whatever, run the simulation because we know the skull is going to be there. And there you go. So now we have kind of a hood with kind of wrinkles. And just like we did before with the skin, you can go through here and add your own wrinkle deformations and use a move brush with elasticity. You know all the tricks now. So now we have the start of a little Skeletor helmet. Also, you can do BTC, brush transpose cloth. So while you're using transpose, you can wrinkle it out. And also try to run simulation. Oop, turn collision volume back on. So now when you pull through, it'll actually collide with the underlying mesh. So that way it's basically transposed line with cloth turned on. If you want to know more about this, then by all means go to my ZBrush 2021 What's New playlist, which is all here. So all the cloth stuff's going to be playlists. Nope, YouTube playlists. All the ZBrush 2021 What's New is going to be that playlist here, and then also here. So you can, I get a little bit messy in here. You know, I should maybe nest some of these. ZBrush 2020, 2021 What's New. If you want a more project history or, you know, poly painting on a flat object, you can use this. It's ZBrush 2020 What's New. That's all in there. Some ideas in there. Oh, did I swear? All right, put a $1 in the swear jar. Sorry about that, YouTube. Cool. Sorry if I missed some stuff, but I guess we're coming up on time. Oh, 7:59. Yeah. Cool. Cool. Thank you, John, for fielding all these questions for me. Keeping everybody up to date. Yeah, so we'll head back. We'll be on my channel on Thursday, and I guess we'll continue where we left off, or if you guys have other ideas. I don't have any real agendas this month, so semi-Assassin's Creed Templar Knight with a weapon, etc. Yes, we can do that. I need to do economy polygon. You did slice the skull to pieces and leave only the visible parts under the wounds, right? Yeah. Good point. That's exactly what I would do for this one here. Is if you needed to be, again, you got a bunch of wasted space under here, so you can literally just go through on the skull section and say, you know what? Oops. Just where I see the skull. Let's turn off X symmetry. Here, here. Maybe here, here, and here, and here. And this will also make it a little bit easier to use too. Like once you're done kind of poking the head through the body, and this is the only areas you're actually going to see the skull, then yeah, absolutely. You can maybe even do an extraction. So we can go down here to an extraction is an easy way to kind of get this going. So thickness, we're going to say negative thickness, so it goes punches back in. Smoothness down, and then extract. Let's do smoothness up just a tiny bit, and maybe not so thick. And maybe so we can see it. Let's turn everything off, except for this one. Extract. Yeah, that might work. So we'll say accept. And then we'll do a display properties flip, so we can see the inside here, and where you have one poly group on the inside, so we can actually hit Control or W, Control tap the inside green poly group, and we can just kind of pull this in. Oops, BTR for regular transpose, and we'll go through here and we'll say U scale to me, please. There we go. So now we have the skull underneath. Of course, we did smooth the extraction, so we lost all our detail. Not that we had a ton of detail to begin with. However, we didn't lose our skull underneath. So one of the things we can do is we can say with the skull selected, I love to use me some project history. So Control tap here. You can also do project all. You don't have to use project history. I just like it. So we're going to go down here to the extraction, and again we have a poly group here for all the front sides. So we're going to say project history. Control Shift tap to bring everything else back. Control D to subdivide. Control Shift tap this. Project history. So now we have our details back on our skull extraction, and then our skull we can hide here. So if we have our skull extraction here, and then our head here, now we just have the skull areas underneath. So if, again, like you said, if you need to be a little more economical, and you didn't want to have to, if you know, you have just had a blobby skull under there, it's not like it's a great skull, so. Now for some chainmail. Well, that's another thing too. It's so easy now. If we go over here and we say, well, let's turn Micropoly on, and let's grab some chainmail. Here's a ring. Here's a knit. Hitch step chainmail. Chainmail link. Chain link Celtic. Chainmail, and let's go Subdivision level 1. Micropoly on, and then smooth subdiv down to 0. There we go. Nice chunky chainmail Micropoly style. And this is the other cool thing about this too. If you go back up to level 2, BCK for cloth hook, it simulates just fine with chainmail. You know, it's still going to simulate with the head. This is Micropoly, so it's not real just yet. You know, in fact, we can even turn off. Let's turn off thickness. There we go. That's a little bit easier to look at because the chainmail already has built-in thickness with the Micropoly. So now we got the "You Chose Poly" guy from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, I think. There we go. So yeah, you can go through and just some flowing chainmail locks. ZBrush only renders what it used to. Yes. I want to buy your lessons ZBrush for ideation, then learn it. Truly is a good idea to learn this way, or you have something later. No, ZBrush for ideation should be caught up. All the new ZBrush 2021 stuff is in there. So I would use that and supplement it with, if you want to do deep dives, that's kind of a general overview of all things ZBrush, at least the stuff that I use. But yeah, that should be okay. It's a lot. It's a lot of videos. I think it's like 300 plus, but can I use UV paint method to put texture on low poly UV, something like 3D Max or Maya? Yes, but in ZBrush, it's not, you're not painting to a texture, you're painting a polygon, so you need to make sure you have enough polygon resolution. It's not texture resolution based. I have extra blank space left in my pop-up menu. How do I delete that? So if we go in here, so I have my own custom menu in here, and we go in here to preferences, and we say config, enable customize. I have some blank spaces in here too. However, I do use these little paddings, UI fillers in here, but if you don't want blank spaces, literally just Control Alt drag out and fill it with something. Or if you don't need this, you can just, it'll start collapsing. So Again, if you have a blank spot, it's just going to be blank unless something can fit in there. And then again, you can just throw a filler in there, or you can rearrange your trying to think if there's anything in here I could move around. I mean, mine's pretty compact, but you know, it's like, you know what? I never use double, so I'm going to move flip up here and double's gone, and then now you don't have any holes in your custom menu. Yes, if that's what you're talking about. And also, like you say, you can also just redo this. Every single release for ZBrush, I just recreate this from scratch and resave my config. Or, okay, you're saying like in between here, maybe? Let me see if I can just do that. There we go. Because, yeah, if it's just blank space, I'm not sure. It should, like, the menus and stuff should pop back up to where they need to go, I think. But I guess I'd have to see. ZBrush is probably the best all-around ZBrush course. Oh, yeah, game art process. Yeah, the Mechanical Skull series goes into more, like, you know, actually making geometry and baking stuff out and texturing and stuff like that. ZBrush Summit 2021 coming. Cool. PC specs are in the workstation link I sent out a little bit ago. Did I close all my stuff? No. So here. Sorry, we're just winding down, but here's all the workstation specs right here. Cool. Is Chainmail part of the program? Never seen it online. Yeah, it should be if you're on ZBrush 2021 or later. That's when Micropoly was introduced. So let's go in here to preferences and let's disable enable customize. Oops, disable enable customize, and it's all just drawn on there. So I can switch this out if I want to give them like a little knit cap. I can change this to a knit here, and we'll say dynamic. And you can also change your smooth subdivision to make this more or less. So you can also make your own custom. Again, if you want more information on that in particular, it's the ZBrush 2021 what's new. So in here, and then if you do, you know what, let's just go to YouTube. So we start playing it, hit YouTube, and then in here, if we do a Control F for Micropoly, and then scoot down. There it is. Video 30 is where Micropoly kind of kicks in. So there's a ton of videos for ZBrush 2021. There's a lot of releases in there. Cool, awesome. Thanks, Ashton. Hopefully have fun with it. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. Cool. Is there a way to fill the cam view with more angles? Oh, that's a good question. I don't think so. I think it is a set number. That's a ZBrush 2020 inclusion. So I don't get real heavy in my other series on that. It's just the kind of the basics. But if you want to deep dive into making your own custom cam view, that's ZBrush 2020 what's new. And then right in here, disabling cam view basics, custom cam view, video number 3. And you know, creating an equerry shape model for cam view, just kind of again setting up our own default stuff there. Cool. And the chainmail is just Micropoly. Or we could do just a cool weave. There we go, like a burlap sack. Document size keeps shrinking even though I set the size to save on startup. That's weird. So basically what I do is go in here to document size, W size, hit new, and then document, save a startup doc. I'm not sure why it would shrink. It shouldn't. That's bizarre. One thing you can do if you want to save more than just your startup document, you can go in here. You can save a project in this folder right here. So basically, CGMA data, ZBrush 2021. C, program files, Pixologic, ZBrush 2021, Z projects. If you save a Z project in this folder, every time you start up ZBrush and you hit the comma key to go to your lightbox menu, you can have just a project file in here that loads up everything. So here's like this one, default project ZPR. Just create your own, and then you can just double click that every time you open up ZBrush, and that'll load up all sorts of saved stuff. Cool. Yeah, and if you, so like I was saying here, ZBrush 2021 video 30. Oh wait, you know what? Let's do this. YouTube playlists, ZBrush 2021, what's new? View full playlist, there we go. Skip through all the demos, and then down here, ropes with Micropoly. Is that really dynamic simulation? Micropoly version. Okay, here we go. Micropoly versus Micromesh. Micropoly basics, video 40. I'll link you right to it. That'll go through a bunch of Micropoly stuff. Cool. Yeah, so there's Micropoly, and then some more Micropoly stuff. Cool. All right, everybody. It's 8:11. I'll let you get back to it. Let me do a, if I can type. Thanks, everybody. We'll head back on Thursday. We'll do a stream on my channel. You know what? We'll start with maybe some new ideas, or we'll go back and do our Skeletor, or we'll, I don't know, do some more stuff with our zombie. All sorts of neat things we can do. But anyway, I'm gonna head out. Thanks, everybody, and catch you on the flip side.